The spring equinox has finally arrived. The day that we all wait for during the darkness of winter, a point in the year where the day and the night are almost perfectly equal in every place on Earth. Spring has been celebrated since the dawn of man, when food becomes abundant and the days become warm. We all step out of our dwellings that kept us shielded from the cold and into the sun. The sounds of the birds and the crickets and the colors of the grass and the leaves is like a built-in biological wave of relief to nearly every warm-blooded creature on Earth. We made it through winter. I have a lot of trips ahead of me this year, and this weekend is my annual Shakedown, a trip where I set out to test any new gear that I've collected over the winter, and a trip to calibrate my mind for shooting video, to reorganize the Toyota in what small ways that I can to become more efficient. Before I start heading out to places that are days from home, I want to test everything out when I'm hours from home. The things like tent functionality, water supply, diff lockers, lights, and other gear that could turn a trip upside down. Or perhaps that's just what I tell myself to justify a quick trip. Curious if you can hear that. I don't think it's gunshots. It's like a group of camper trailers over there. I don't know what they're doing. Can we get down the road? She don't like the booms. All right, let's go. For residents of Colorado, Utah offers an accessible place for spring temperatures. Mountain living has its perks, but also its cons. Most of Colorado's trails will be buried in snow for several more months.
It didn't sound very loud, but they were actually skeet shooting, so they're shooting shotguns off. It's funny because I can now acknowledge that I'm turning into the old man that does not like noise at my camp, that's for sure.
This area is an unknown to me. I've never been here before, but anything around Utah never disappoints. I decided to check out this place after looking around on Google Earth. I found more details on trails off-road, and then I built my route on Gaia Maps.
It's amazing how out of tune I am with making videos after the winter, because I have so much stuff that goes in certain places and I have such a system that it took me like an hour to get my brain in the right order. My new vehicle is going to be a much better setup for filming.
My co-pilot and I are not looking to climb rocks, cross rivers, or have to winch out of something. We're in for a much bigger challenge. Finding seclusion on the first warm weekend of the year.
my shakedown is so far successful because I can hear a few weird noises that I need to get figured out before Arkansas, if I can find them. I think I have a brake hanging up, which you'll probably hear in the video. Maybe not hanging up, or maybe it's just dirt in there. That's always possible, but I just put rear brakes on this thing, so I don't know what that's about. I'm hoping to find a place towards like a canyon wall or something, just so I can get away from the trails and the tracks and the mountain bikes and the side-by-sides, because they are all very, very noisy.
The FJ will cross 230,000 miles soon, and possibly 240 by the end of summer. It has been a fantastic travel companion for the past 14 years that I've owned it. I have put very little into keeping it running, and it's been treated as you're seeing most of its life. It has never left me stranded. I often hear that it's a Toyota and it will last until 500,000 miles, and while that may be true, I just don't trust it as much anymore. Age breaks down any engine from any manufacturer. While as of right now, I don't plan to sell the FJ, this time next year, it's very likely that I will be driving something else into the wilds of the world. A new vehicle will be very strange for me. A new vehicle isn't here yet though, so the FJ needs to be in its best possible mechanical condition for this year's next adventures. In the coming weeks, we'll be headed to Arkansas to explore more of what the state has to offer. Arkansas can be intimidating in a different way than the West. Here, you can roll off the side of a mountain, but in Arkansas, you can be faced with water deep enough to make you want to tuck your tail and go home. I turned off the main trail into a dead end. These kinds of areas are often avoided by day trippers, dirt bikers, and side-by-sides, which means that it may be exactly the campsite that I was hoping for. And as I'm pulling into these rocks, I'm seeing that it surpasses my hopes of what I thought I would find out here.
Not sure that I could do much better than this. This is very isolated from everybody else because the main trail's farther that way. There might be dirt bike noise here and there. But the sun feels good. I don't know what temperature it is. It's probably 65, 70 degrees. Finally feels like the right season. Sweet. So there were certain amenities I got used to with the Conqueror. One of those things is 110 volt power on some trips. This is my first trip using the Zero Breeze Elect Hive, which is a 100 amp hour battery. I'm really just bringing it out on this trip because I want to mess around with it. I'm gonna save the boozing for a little bit later. A little early in the day, I still want to go hike around. A few ice cubes. I do like having ice. Oh, one down. And so you'll probably ask, what's the point of blending up lemonade and ice? There isn't. I just want to do it. Part of testing stuff out. And I've got blueberries, so I'm gonna get a little crazy here. Here we go. Well, other than my blender isn't a very good blender, worked pretty good. It's tasty lemonade. On a hot day out in the desert, can't beat that.
The deserts of the West are quite the spectacle. Even my small campsite has features that I can stare at for hours. Pillars of compressed sand being slowly carved away by loose sand. Through time, this has been the seafloor and 2 miles above sea level. And as time moves on, it'll probably be both of those things again one day. As I try to get a glimpse of a lizard under his rock, it's wild to think that his ancestors were bigger than elephants and probably swam in that sea.
I'm to the point in the day where I'm ready for another drink, and this time I'm putting whiskey in it. A little bit of whiskey. Whiskey and lemonade. You wouldn't think it works, but it works. There are no dirt bikes and no side-by-sides at this hour at all. It's like 5 o'clock. There's nobody out here. I will definitely put the awning away tonight because of the wind. It's a little bit too concerning. I usually try to do that anyway. Today I've got it actually staked out, which I rarely do, but I have had that thing fold in half before from crazy winds, but it was in Utah around this time of the year, so I've learned my lesson. So I always stake it out, and I take precautions. As far as a shakedown trip, I think this has gone well. I had one humming weird noise that I didn't know about earlier. That is definitely the heater. The fan was spinning on a very low speed. It's just an old truck. There's not much I can do about that other than replace the fan. I'm not doing that anytime soon. And then I can hear a brake seems to be, I don't know if it's dirt in there or if it's actually dragging, but I need to figure that out. Aside from that, I think the FJ is ready for its adventures. So when I come out to areas like this, I can't help but think about the new vehicle and all of the places that it's going to take me. But I have an idea in my head, and I've come up with a bunch of concepts on a bunch of different vehicles, and I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to be getting, and I'm very excited about it. I'm going to take it in stock form and go do some trails and see what it's made of. And after that, I will be doing much more with it. Much more with it. But not outside of the realm of like what this is. It's going to be very similar to the FJ. It's just not going to take me 10 years to get it all done like it did with the FJ. I've owned the FJ since I was like 21 years old. So back then I didn't have the money to do all of the things that I do now. Times have changed. Life has changed.
Buying a new vehicle probably doesn't seem like a big deal to a lot of you. It's just a truck. To me, it's much more than that. It's a machine that I will spend hundreds of nights in. I will be relying on it to get me up and down dangerous trails. I will be taking it into other countries, and I will be using it as a base for filming YouTube and documentary types of films. It's something that I will crawl into at the end of the days ahead that I can't even imagine right now. Days that will be full of memories that I will never forget.
Might as well butter it up.
There's a dog under there. You just wouldn't know it.
Look how crazy this is. It is the golden hour. And there is nobody out here. This is what it's all about for me, is the isolation. Like my day-to-day stress
definitely goes away out here. It's so relaxing, and it is so awesome to have a vehicle like this. It's more than just having a truck with a bunch of stuff on it. This thing has taken me so many cool places and de-stressed me so many times. If it had 2 feet, 3 feet, if it had a way that wasn't the cost of a truck to cut the back off and make it into a truck, I might consider it, but I'm just not gonna go down that route. Too complicated, time for something new, but I will always appreciate this thing. The FJ is such a unique one. There's either people that love them or they hate them, but I love them. It is just such a retro looking thing, and it's funny that Toyota did this and then the Bronco came out and it was such a popular ordeal. I can't even hear another camper, because getting into this spot was, you know, not the craziest thing you've ever seen, but it wasn't easy either. There's no RAV4s getting back in here. My wife would argue that, but they're not getting back in here. It feels so good to be back in the warm part of the year. It's gonna be a nice night. I can feel it. It's clearing up. I'm hoping the moon doesn't come out too early so I can do a long exposure. That would be perfect. It smells pretty good on dog. Anyone who's seen my videos before knows that a trip to the desert isn't complete until we take account of the scorpions around camp. There's just something cool to spotting them with a black light. Found one. Just a little guy. It's the only one I see so far. As soon as it warms up, there will be a ton more of them out. I'm gonna make my breakfast that I didn't get yesterday because of gunshots. So I brought the little waffle iron. Very excited about this. I keep everything pretty much in these Nalgene containers, so got some steaming hot water. I'll put that in there, let my syrup get warmed up. I keep it in that so it doesn't leak all over the place. I'm gonna put some blueberries in here and a little bit of oil so that it'll work for waffles. We'll see how it goes. This is working beautifully. I have yet to have a single person comment on Bones Coffee. If you've ever drank anything from Starbucks and enjoyed it, Bones Coffee
is the way. It's even better, actually, because it's not as sugary. I really, really enjoy it. White chocolate, peppermint bark. It doesn't have sugar in it, so it's not overly like intense. But then I put like creamer and stuff in it, but it's not Starbucks sweet, but it's good. Look at that beautiful artwork. I'm all about it. All right, never leave a dog behind. Made an extra egg just for her. Jumpstart her day. Probably shouldn't have put pepper and salt in it. Oh, I don't want to deal with getting my other chair out right now. So I'm just not gonna. Thanks, Blue. Oh, low riding. So my original plan was to go back down to the main trail and head out this way, but on different map apps I'm getting conflicting information on where I can go in and where I can go out, so I may have to backtrack all the way out because I don't really have all day to be on the trails, and if I do go this way I don't know what lies ahead of me and I just don't have the time today. So I may have to go back out the way I came, but I'm going to try to avoid it if I can. But we're going to get moving down the road and see what I can figure out, and hopefully it works out.
This campsite did not disappoint. Expansive views, secluded, and room for my whole crew in case we're ever looking for such a place. And as far as a shakedown trip, this has proven to be very successful. These first adventures of the year aren't just for testing gear, but for testing confidence. Getting back in the saddle and observing the machine beneath my feet to decide if I trust it for the next big challenge. And the next big trip could very likely present some serious challenges. In a few weeks, we'll be headed to Arkansas to hit some trails that we've never seen before. And this time of the year, it'll likely be a completely different challenge than the last time that I was there. Early spring rain showers mean slick roads and deep rivers. The winch is winding up, the lockers are locking, and this old engine just keeps doing as it's told. So after taking care of a few issues I observed this weekend, I'll be as ready as I'll ever be.
There's a trail that I was planning on taking out of here today. There was going to be a little bit more of a new route, but looking at it closely on satellite imagery, it looks to me like that area is a place that goes under the highway, but you can't actually get onto the highway. And I just really don't want to spend all the time today trying to find a new way out. Some people just want to do a trail and be done with it and say they did it, but for me, what I prefer to do is I prefer to actually save a section of a trail that I haven't done before, like today. I don't want to go through an area that I haven't seen before because I would rather save that for another time that I have a 2 or 3 day weekend. It's always more of an impact if I see a place for the first time and that's where I'm going to be camping. So because of that, I'm just going to, I think I'm going to go back out the way I came. something I'm using the drone for right now is I am using the magnification mode to see if anybody else is on the way down, because I can't hear anything. I don't see anybody. Doesn't look like anybody's coming down this, so we're gonna make our move.
Utah, like much of the West, is absolutely incredible. And the fact that it's wide open for exploration always leaves me in awe. These trails give a real sense of true freedom and a small hint of what the West has to offer for overland travel. This weekend was absolutely what I needed after a long winter. The sun felt warm and the stars shined bright. This year is going to be filled with some incredible scenery, incredible memories, and incredible stories. Join us next time as we travel into Arkansas and test the aquatic abilities of the FJ like never before. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time.